and welcome back to my channel. So we have talked about the basic things, let's say about identity building, and again, for me the topic of this series of videos is that if you are a parent of children with multiple cultural identities or origins, you should be able to support them and help them in developing their own identity, because this makes your children much happier and mainly self-secure. So after the videos that we have already seen, I hope that you have seen them. If not, just go back and check them. Today's video is about the first point that can influence, or of course influences our identity, and this is it a genetic question? So how far are our genes the ones that define our identity? And as mentioned in the videos before, for sure there is not one indicator or denominator which says this is your identity. Of course, it's I call it a puzzle, and the more you give your children all the puzzle pieces that can influence their identity, the better it is. And then they, together with you in best case, they can just select their identity or define their identity based on those puzzle pieces that they feel are theirs. And so as usual, my very first point is go and check the facts. And in that case, science was not very helpful. Just as an example, 86% of the height of people is genetically defined. So this is a physical trait. So I would have thought 95% at least. Of course, nutrition and of course the whole environment you live in are influencing, but 86 seemed a little low for my personal feelings. The pure case is also influencing how tall a person is. Okay. And on the other side, fun fact that my daughter loves so much, fun fact, 13% of all divorces are due to genetics. I will insert the link to the source where I have it in the below. So apparently there is a gene for divorce. Is there also a gene for identity? No, unfortunately not. So sciences don't help us that much here. So we have to go into experiences and into thinking, talking to other people, and that is exactly what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to build up a community, and I would really very much like you to comment below your experiences, your thoughts, because that is how we can help each other. Of course, genetics are influencing our identity. The strange thing is that mainly other people are trying to use your heritage, your genes, to define you, what from the outside is your personality. So when they know you are from one country, then for them it's clear, oh, that must be the one thing that defines your personality. And even if we are the ones who define our identity, of course we are influenced by the people around us, and the less we are prepared to build our own identity, and the more the other people feel free to comment or to judge or to define our personality, the more it happens. So the more parents help and support a child in that process, the lower the influence of other people will be, and the more the child can define their own identities. When I am asked about my identity, as mentioned before, sometimes I answer just in percentages, which is then purely genetic. I say I'm 50% Italian, 25% German, and 25% French. And potential influences from circus people or postmen cannot be excluded, as I do not have taken a genetic test up to now, and I'm really not interested in it. This would, of course, be a correct answer, and it would somehow satisfy the asking person, but is this really my identity? Not the whole identity, of course. Let's suppose there were something like a French gene. I can't identify it at all in me. I've not been socialized by any French person. I don't feel any francitude in me, even if I speak French. But there is nothing in me that I feel as building my identity. On the other side, looking at my light skin with the freckles and my red hair, there are two options. First of all, I am a mutant. Funny idea. And of course, it's true. So freckles and red hair are just genetic mutations that then remain, of course, and are passed to the later generations. But it is, and let me read it to be correct, it is a mutation to the MC1R gene, so the melanocortin 1 receptor. And this means that people like me produce less eumetanine, and instead they produce pheomelanin, which has a sort of red color, which is the freckles color. So, a little fun fact again. The second option. At some point in history, Normans crossed my genetic historical path. The theory is quite likely, but again, to verify it, I'd pass a genetic test. And scientists still are not quite sure where those Normans came from. So they might have come from Scandinavia, or from what today is called the UK, or from northern France. They don't know. So again, it's just difficult to say where they came from, and thus if I have any Scandinavian or British or French influence, and there you have the French again, it might be that, but it's not sure. Of both options, I prefer the first one. I am a mutation. And little side story, what I have experienced is that whenever you go and live in a foreign country, at the beginning you try to adapt, you try to integrate yourself in this new culture. But at a certain point, if for a long period of time you have tried to assimilate to that culture and still you are seen as a foreigner, at a certain point the whole thing turns back. So at a certain point, some of us decide, you know what, I'll just be myself. If you like it or not, this is who I am. And we'll stop trying to integrate so far. Of course, a little integration is always happening by nature. Coming back to those Normans, there is one legend, I guess, that I learned when I came to Switzerland. And this is the story about the Hunnenfleck, so the spot of the Huns or of the Mongolians. And this legend says that in ancient times, the Mongolians or Huns, they rushed through whole Europe and conquered one country after the other. And those populations had bluish spots on their skin, mainly on their back, just above their butt cheeks. And strangely, many Swiss people have those Mongolian spots. And I guess they are sparked all over Europe because Hans just went through whole Europe and left their genes every now and then. But I guess maybe in those countries where there are many mountains, so where people in the villages wouldn't move that much, those Mongolian spots were maintained more. Again, I'm not sure if this is really true, but this is a legend that I've learned and I like it. And I also know one person, a purely Swiss person, who has this Mongolian spot. Okay, but let's get back to those genetic tests, which are so much used mainly on the American continent, not that much in Europe. And of course, we have to ask ourselves, why? And I guess the reason is because there are not so many indigenous people left in the Americas, starting from the conquerors coming from Spain, Italy, and Portugal, and Britain at first, and then all those European people going to the Americas in search for wealth or just trying to save their lives and not to die by hunger, and European prisoners being brought there, and of course, last but not least, all African people who were brought there by force in slavery. So the Americas are a big melting pot. And then those people who were living there, already coming from very different origins, then again mixed with each other. And of course, at a certain point, you have lost the family history, or maybe it just got lost very soon. So at a certain point, of course, you ask yourself, where do I come from? So if we look at the African people who just didn't have any ways to transmit their heritage. And if you lost your family history, the only way to get a little glimpse of that, at least, is to have a genetic test. Another question is also, how far can you go back in your family history to find roots? And for some, it's okay to go back 5 generations, and some want to go back to the 1600s or 1400s. I don't know. I think also that is a very individual point. How important is it for you to know about your family history? And I think it's very similar to what happens to adopted children. At a certain point, every adopted child wants to know about their biological parents. And some of them just want to know the names. Some of them want to at least meet them once and find out who they are, how they look like, and maybe tell them a little bit of the story why they were adopted. And some of them develop a really intense bond to their parents, to their biological parents, on top of the bond of their adoptive parents. And all of that is very individual. So every single person has to define what is important for them, how far back they want to go, and how many details they want to know if they can find them. But again, to summarize the whole discussion of today, genes are of course one of the very important puzzle pieces in everybody's identity. And if you can help your child in defining its genetic history, go ahead and support them with that. So I hope you liked today's topic. Again, put your comments down below. I would so much love to hear and read about your personal history, about your thoughts, about what you think about it. And anyhow, please like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you again next Sunday. See you soon, and be kind.